Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, PC Master Race of all ages, this is Simon the Diamond Ivanov, and with me, as always, is my co-host, the legendary CharmanderBinks, Charlie Wilson. How's it going, sir?
Senor Diamante. It's bueno. For those of you who don't know, Simon is fluent, so he knows what I just said.
See. So, Charlie, welcome to Ironhammers Overclocked, episode 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Man, Charlie, it's been, I think it's been a pretty fast week since our first, since the debut episode. But it was Easter weekend. A lot of us had a bunch of days off. We got some time to catch up on stuff. How was your weekend, Charlie? That's all I want to know. I don't care about anything else. That's all I want to know. What you do?
I'll tell you what I just did. I told you I didn't know if I had the YouTube up, so I brought up another one. All of a sudden, I had 3 of you going at once. I shut one. I didn't realize there was another one hiding under all my windows. But I think you said something about Easter weekend, right? So it's pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. We're getting to the point where our family is, there's some people over here, some people over there, splitting time with relatives, but it was pretty good. I know you hung out with family. Everyone's still alive. Good.
Yes, sir. Thankfully.
Excellent. Last weekend, what about gaming? What have you been doing? Have you finished a game yet? I heard you talk on the other podcast. It sounds like there's even more games you haven't finished than I would have guessed.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I don't know. Like a lot of guys in the community know that I took about 2 years off of hardcore gaming, and last year with the release of Far Cry 3, I started getting back into it, getting immersed back into the world, and like there's a lot of little casual gaming that goes on here and there. You find a game that you can spend an afternoon, spend a day off playing, and then you kind of toss it aside, but. So pretty much what happened is, I got really back into gaming. I upgraded my PC. All of a sudden I opened this world of technology. I start buying Steam games again. Maybe 50, 60 games since I started playing again. And the problem is I start enjoying gaming very piecemeal. In the last 3 months, Charlie, I've bought. I've acquired Guild Wars 2. Obviously BioShock Infinite, which we'll talk about in a second. Heart of the Swarm. I started playing Hawken, Dishonored. Just all this stuff piling up, and I'll play it like I'll have a day off. I'll play something for 8 hours straight, and then never revisit it again. So, I think I need to just say like books. I have a lot of half-read books. So what I need to start doing is say, look, if I'm going to start a game, I need to finish it before moving on to anything else. Unfortunately, in our enthusiast industry, we have to kind of play everything so we can discuss it and keep ourselves caught up. But to answer your question, the only thing I played all week since our last show is BioShock Infinite. I've dedicated about 3 hours to it, which the way I play the BioShock games, which a lot of people play them this way, is search every single corner, search every trash bin, talk to every single person I can, and take time to admire the world that they've created, because these guys at Irrational created this world for a reason. Graffiti on the walls, the mumbling that some NPC is doing in the corner, everything has to do with the main story. So that's all I played. I pretty much got to the point where I got my first weapon and put the game down, but I'm loving it. I'm so far immersed. What do you think about it, man? I know you've been playing it as well.
I have. I'm the same way. I'm a completionist. Because I know once I beat it, I'm not going to go back and do it over again. Well, I'll start off from the beginning. I told you I've got my Infinity set up. I spent probably an hour just playing with settings, seeing like what the highest I could do with 3 screens would be, and that the screen where you're doing it, the options with like the barber and the guy. Not it wasn't a barber. It's a guy in a barber getting his shoes shined. Right. I've seen the shadows on the walls so many times. It blows your mind. I was testing with like ultra low settings with 3 screens to see how that would look. Long story short, DirectX 11 doesn't work too well with my graphics card in 3 screens.
Oh man.
But I play it on the highest settings possible, and you don't really pay attention to the side screens, but once you turn them off and focus on one screen, it feels like something is missing. It's like tunnel vision. It's like,
Right.
what's going on over here? I don't know what's over here, but I know it's missing. Aside from specs and playing with settings, by the way, I think it's kind of cool that they actually included the utility to check your frame rates. I don't know if you play with that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. As soon as you install the game, a desktop shortcut for the game and the benchmark tool appear, which, like Bobby Gooding said on air the other day, Tomb Raider included that, Resident Evil 6 has included that. I think Charlie, it's starting to get to the point with, like I said, going into this. I think what is it, the 8th generation of gaming, with the PS4 and whatnot, that it's getting. Everything's starting to converge again. Like the consoles are finally catching up to PC gaming for the time being, and it's getting to the point where I think these benchmark tools not only, show you, hey, this machine is ready, but they show you, wow, this is what the game can do. If you've got an aging computer that you built 5 years ago and you haven't upgraded anything, you throw that benchmark tool on, and it's going to show you amazing lighting effects, amazing particle effects, and you're going to say, okay, I need to upgrade my video card, not just so it can run, but so I can enjoy the game like this. Because it'll play it on max settings and just show you've got 1 frame per second. Did your machine perform okay on the benchmark? Like, what was your frames per second on that guy?
Sadly, the benchmark utility, I couldn't get it to work for 3 screens. With one screen, I think I was getting 40 frames per second on ultra settings, which is playable. I got 60 or 70 frames a second without the DirectX 11 options enabled. I went that route because, if a fun game is fun, you forget all about how much extra shadowing there is or how sharp the shadowing is on the ground, because that's one of the big things is how sharp or blurry the shadowing is on the ground. And, with the action rolling, you're really not worrying about that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I've liked the game so far. I thought BioShock has been great. I think I like the creepiness factor in the first one more, though. What about you?
Okay. So like I said, I'm very early in the game, right? I just killed my first few guys, and I was thinking about it earlier today. I was thinking the game feels very different. The world feels very different. Obviously, you're in a flying city as opposed to an underwater utopia, but remember, part 1 started in the aftermath of a huge catastrophe where everything has already happened. And in this game, it's before the uprising and before all this insurrection occurs. So I think that's the big tonal shift. I agree. Part 1 was very creepy because you go in and you're wondering, what am I going to encounter? What are splicers? It's a very creepy game, like you said. You start seeing people with masks, and deformed faces and whatnot. But in this game, everyone looks fine. You don't see any weird freaks of nature yet, but you could tell that things are going to go south really quick. And then you start to take a peek into the what do they call the magics in this game?
Vigors.
Oh, vigors, right. I start to see the vigors and the salts and the in-game equivalent of bath salts and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. I don't know how insane this world of Columbia gets, like I said, from what I've played, but you're right. It does eliminate that feel of let me explore these audio logs and let me explore what has happened in this scary world. It's more of, let me explore these audio logs and kind of try to get an idea, foreshadow what crazy rebellion is about to go down. But yeah, it's pretty. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not. Like in the first game, you had the big daddies, which were like, oh shoot, the big daddies. When you first start playing, it's like you want to stay the way, you you want to stay away from that. And you had the little girls that were being used to harvest the Eve or Adam or whatever. It was much creepier and grotesque. This game, it seems more about the personalities of the prophet, and I won't get too much more into it, but there's more personalities that essentially take on the form of levels. It's like this is this guy level, this is the that guy level, and they'll have weird person. It's kind of like in BioShock where they had, the surgeon and the artist, and
I see.
but in that respect, it's kind of similar, and I like that feel. But again, not as creepy, but solid for sure.
Cool. I'll tell you what. Like I said, I don't know how far this goes. You may have already seen it, but in the very within the first hour when you're out in the fair, and you see the amazing giant man. Do you remember what that's called? The
handyman.
It's like yeah, the handyman, right? And it's like this obviously at one point a human, but grafted onto this enormous, giant machine. And the guy's talking about, wow, look at the handyman. He can lift a ton and do all this amazing stuff. And then you hear people in the audience, and this one girl, the guy, there's a couple, and the guy is like, oh man, I would kill to be that strong. And the woman's like, yeah, but he looks so sad. Like, look at the pain in his face. Like, those little things are parts of the game design that many people would just walk through. They would just click the left stick and see what's my next objective, kind of go through that. But to me, like I said, every little bit of dialogue creates this world. So to me, I see that and I go, okay, somehow I think I'm gonna have to fight one of these things at some point, and I'm gonna and I'm sure I'm gonna hear an audio log about how weird torture and weird experiments leading up to this creation of this monster. But it looks very cool, man. I'm very excited.
Just a little bit further, the coin toss. That did something for me. I immediately went on the forums and I'm like, what was the deal with this? And immediately you see spoilers. What did you pick, heads or tails? And what do you think that meant?
I didn't look much into that, but does that actually? I think I picked. I think I picked tails, and then the guy was like heads. He picked heads for everything. Does that actually change at all?
I picked heads, and the guy's just like, look, I told you. And once he turned around and you see like 100 tallies for heads and no tails, I'm like, something tells me maybe I'm the only person who's been picking coin tosses, and I've done it 100 and some odd times. That's how I feel. Nobody leave anything in the comments or anything. I'm looking forward to that, and I know it has some sort of significance on the general plot.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of little things like that.
Did you touch the StarCraft at all? Because I personally am like, you know what? I'm going to finish the Heart of the Swarm first, and I did before I touched BioShock at all.
No, I have not even opened Heart of the Swarm. So we've obviously we've got a review on the site on Ironhammers.org. Obviously, Bobby Gooding, the StarCraft guy, loves it. It's rave reviews. So what do you think, man? Is it worth? Has it been worth the 2 years of hype? What do you think?
My final thoughts on it. Well, I'm not big on player versus player. I suck. I've played with people that played player versus player, and they destroyed me, and it ruined my self-esteem. So I don't do that. The story, it is what it is. It keeps things moving along. But what I love about Blizzard is the CGI. I mean, they do it better than anyone else, and I would like to see them do a movie. I know there is a World of Warcraft movie coming out, but it's not CGI. It's supposedly $100 million budget, so that'll be interesting. But other than the CGI and the solid gameplay, I'm not big on active strategy games, and it was still great. That's what
Awesome. Awesome. Cool, man. Yeah, I hope to get into it very soon. And I actually took another thing I did over the weekend. Like I said, I had some time off. Is I took the rest of the community's advice, and I sat on the couch. Right, actually yesterday after the whole family left, it was a great time. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, you know what? Let me just zone out for a while. So I turn on, the net-enabled Blu-ray player with Netflix and YouTube. I open up YouTube and I type MLG HOTS, right? Major League Gaming, Heart of the Swarm. hit enter, see what comes up. Because everyone's telling me I need to watch esports, and it's actually pretty decent. So I pull up, and it says like Flash versus Bly, round 1. And I recognize the name Flash because we were talking about it on the other show that he's this huge Korean player. And, you know, obviously if there's a Korean player, that probably means it's going to be a good game. So I turn it on. It says it's a 2-hour-long match.
Wow.
You know, I see the commentary. I see the hosts. They bring out the 2 players. They've got translators. The 2 guys go into their individual soundproof booths with their, you know, gaming headsets and everything. And I'm like, wow, this is like a big deal, man. You know, and I didn't. You know, as soon as they started playing, it's showing the guys' fingers and what they're doing. What? I can't even comprehend. And I'm saying this in a very good way. I cannot comprehend what they're even doing that would warrant someone to tap any key, let alone multiple keys. Like, I'm going to play it like this so people know, but to sit there and be like that fast, and I'm seeing this guy like, what the hell's he doing? And I'm assuming he's sending units to different places and changing commands, you know. But I'm like, what the hell is this guy even running? What paths is he creating? And any StarCraft expert is like, what a stupid noob right now listening to him talk. But I mean, to be honest, like I said, this is the stuff. This is the part of the esports industry that needs to break through to players. You know, I think, you know, this is, I don't know, not to get into a huge esports thing, but okay, to make a long story short, it was very entertaining. You know, I watched a good 15 minutes of it, and I'd like to watch some more. I just need to probably watch the finals or, you know, the really, really main game to just kind of, you know, get myself in there. If I watch like a preliminary game, I may not. It may not rub off on me as well. But I think, like I said, like we were talking about on the other show, keep an eye out for a few main players, follow them online, see what they're doing. You know, see what kind of following they have. Kind of watch their tournaments, and it may, you know, it may be a little more interesting. But other than that, so before we get into that, anything else you've been playing before we talk about stuff we've been watching?
I've been getting everyone I know into Cut the Rope. It's such a simple game. I got my mom onto it. When you know, when you gotta take a dump and you need something to keep you occupied, you know, you bring your tablet in there.
Right.
And Cut the Rope is just perfect. 30 minutes later, you think maybe it's time to start wrapping things up. But that's what I've been playing. I'm playing the free version, so like every 30 seconds, the full screen ad pops up, and it's pretty terrible. But it's such a fun game, and as long as it doesn't come up in the middle of a puzzle, yeah, I put up with it.
So, all right, I need to check that. Is it like a Fruit Ninja type thing, just like really quick, colorful action?
Not exactly. Basically, there's some candy, and there's a dinosaur, and you need to get the candy to the dinosaur. And the thing is, you got to like cut ropes to make it swing around, or I mean, basically you're cutting ropes and using bubbles and shooting through tunnels. It starts off simple, it gets more complicated. It's one of those things you do when you're on the toilet. You know, it's like, I think it's even done by the same people as the Angry Birds, or if you've ever played Shoot the Apple, same kind of thing. It's just,
nice.
It's a physics-based puzzles game. Highly recommend.
Definitely. It sounds like good dump gameplay, and that's very important. And I got Mike Ferraro in the chat there, in the Facebook chat, saying Fun Run is where it's at. Have you played that? That sounds like another
Fun
casual...
Run. It sounds like Temple Run, which I've done, but it's a little too much action for me, and I think it goes on forever if you let it. So I like the sense of accomplishment from finishing a level.
All right, so Cut the Rope. See, you shouldn't have told me that, okay? Because I've got an Android phone, so now when I have free time, instead of saying, you know what, let me go knock out a level in StarCraft, now I'm gonna be like, you know what, let me just go sit on the toilet for no particular reason and play this game.
You need a long cable for your keyboard, your mouse, and your monitor, and you need to keep PC gaming so you can finish some of these games. Maybe if you bring it into the bathroom, you can get some of these games taken care of.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's what I need. Yeah, I just need that's a good wireless HDMI signal thrower. Mount the TV in the bathroom, and there you go. Yeah, good little Bluetooth wireless keyboard. I like it. I like it. But okay, so StarCraft 2, BioShock Infinite, Cut the Rope, good stuff. We'll move on. We'll move on from that. But yeah, that's I think that's a healthy dose of gaming for both of us, as long as we finish said games. But yeah, like I said, man, over the weekend, before we get into our weekly gear of the week and whatnot. I know this is a PC gaming podcast, but you guys have to get to know us a little better. So I want to talk about what I've been watching, okay? Because this was an enormous week for television. Yesterday was the season finale of The Walking Dead and the season premiere of Game of Thrones. Now, first of all, this is not a spoiler show, so all I'll ask Charlie is, do you watch The Walking Dead? And if you do, did you watch it yesterday?
No, I don't. All I've seen was actually back at good old Cop USA. Somebody was watching it in the break room, and they were taking apart a zombie to see if a girl was in the stomach.
Okay. Yeah,
that was seasons ago, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything.
All right.
That's all I've
that
seen.
was season 2. Very, very creepy story arc that was. But okay, cool. All right. So Walking Dead season finale. Pretty cool stuff. Now, Game of Thrones. Okay, I think if you're a PC gamer, you're also a fantasy nerd like us. So therefore, you will enjoy the George R.R. Martin storyline. Now, Charlie, you have read all the Game of Thrones books. So, what did you think of the season 3 premiere of Game of Thrones? I'm very curious to hear your take in particular.
Well, my take, basically, the biggest difference between the movies and the books is not the movies, but the show, they leave out about 500 characters. Considering they're leaving out about 500 characters, they're sticking to the plot pretty well. I know George Martin is involved with writing the show too, so he knows what happens and who to keep alive and everything like that. And quite frankly, I'm a fan, but my favorite character is Arya. And they didn't touch her at all in the season premiere, so I was kind of upset about that.
Yeah, what's funny is my girlfriend was I was asking her who she thinks will end up ruling, Westeros, and she thinks it's Arya, or she says it would be the greatest plot twist for it to be Arya. And for those of you who don't remember who that is one of the late Hand of the King's daughters. I don't even remember his name.
Eddard.
What I don't even remember their last
Eddard
name.
Stark.
Oh yeah. Okay, one of the Stark daughters, exactly. Sean Bean. But yeah, she's pretty cool. I kind of hope. I don't know, man. I think Daenerys Targaryen needs to rule all. Now, don't spoil it. I know you know what happens, but her and her dragons. That's all I'll say, and I like that storyline that's evolving. But yeah, Game of Thrones. But you're excited for the rest of the season?
I'm excited for the show. Since you bring up Daenerys, I think she's probably got a future. I don't think she'll go away anytime soon. But I have to admit, I don't find her plot that engaging relative to some of the other characters. Like Tyrion is obviously a big favorite. Tyrion,
Right.
Arya is also a big favorite. There's some other characters that there's too much change for me to get into, but Daenerys actually doesn't do it for me.
I think it's so far removed from the rest of the storyline. Like, it seems like it's just a storyline running in parallel with everything else. Obviously the end game, will meet. Like, obviously at some point she's going to come into conflict with all these characters, but the fact that she never actually comes in contact and doesn't know what the hell's going on, she doesn't know about, the Kingslayer, and well, she knows about that stuff, but she doesn't know that Tyrion Lannister has been injured and that Stark has been murdered and all this stuff. So I think it's just such a separate storyline that it's easy to kind of forget that it's going on. But yeah, I think Tyrion Lannister is the coolest storyline right now, and he's just such a great little guy. He's a great little guy. So, well, yeah, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, good stuff, and of course in Google Plus chat, we've got Josh Bicknell, host of the Critical Strike podcast, saying if you're going to watch esports, quote unquote, just watch Street Fighter tournaments. They're better, and you'll at least get into it since you're a fan of the game. And that's true. I like watching. Here's my problem, man. Here's my problem with fighting game, and he's gonna kill me for this, and fighting game experts are gonna kill me for saying this stuff. But the reason I don't really care for professional fighting game tournaments, well, two reasons. Number one, because I feel very inferior and terrible about myself when I watch them, and number two, because I love fighting games so much, and I love them on such a primal level of it. This is an instinct-based experience that when I see these guys, these pros, and I don't mean pros like sarcastically, I legitimately say these professionals, these very talented guys, when I see them playing Street Fighter and whatnot and winning these huge tournaments and meets, and then I see what they do to prepare, and the fact that, unfortunately, it comes down to counting frames of animation, it pisses me off. And I realize that StarCraft is the same thing. I realize that people aren't playing StarCraft professionally because it's fun and they love the art and the sound design. They're playing StarCraft professionally because they know how to maximize keystrokes per minute. And so I think once you look behind that curtain, I think the fact that I'm not an expert in StarCraft makes me more interested, but the fact that I love Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and all this stuff makes me not want to see it professionally. The same way that I love music, and I love making music, I love playing guitar, but if I were to go take a guitar class and be in the same class as all these guys that know all their chords and know all the inner workings of the actual philosophy of music, I'd be like, I don't like this anymore. I don't want to know how it works. I just want to enjoy it on a base, entry level. It's a really stupid reason to not watch fighting game tournaments, but I don't know. I love playing fighting games, so I think if I'm gonna watch esports, it has to be a game or a genre that I enjoy somewhat casually. Like I'll watch a cut the rope tournament anytime. It would be excellent. Just a bunch of guys sitting on fake toilets playing against each other would be awesome. But so any last words on the esports, Charlie? Interested? Not interested?
I have seen commentary on StarCraft games. I wanted to learn, see if I could become a player, but it was entertaining. But I learned that I don't want to take it that far. As for actually becoming mainstream, I think I brought it up on Facebook. I mean, who cares that much about skiing or BMX biking or, there's so much junk on TV that people will just watch it. I say if you market esports as like for us, it'd be like U.S. versus Korea. People will watch it just out of national pride. They'll be like, oh, yeah, go USA, USA. And I'm sure the same goes for other countries as well, just to develop some sort of nationalism for a team that you probably don't pay attention to at all. Like rhythmic gymnastics, synchronized swimming. Seriously.
Rhythmic
gymnastics. I know this is not a joke. Once at the gym, I saw chess on ESPN2. Chess. And they had announcers, and they went crazy, but it was on ESPN2. I'd rather watch gaming than chess.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's pretty funny. People get pretty insane about chess, though.
On that, I could be done.
All right, so there we go.
I went on Yahoo. I used to play the timed Yahoo games, and it ruined my game. I got used to playing 5 minute time limit, 1 minute time limit, and now I am worse than when I started. So I used to be
Oh.
hardcore, but
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean exactly because you end up if you want to mimic the ways the pros play, it's I don't know. Like I said, anytime you try to play something professionally, it totally changes the way you do it casually and for fun, right? There was always the gym teacher
yeah.
in school that, if you loved playing basketball with your friends, you would hate playing it in class because he'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop screwing around and hit some baskets." It totally takes the fun out of it. But I don't know. Esports are good. I love it. Obviously, Ironhammers and the community support it, and it can only be good for the community. Thankfully. So let me see. Just a few comments here, and of course we got Michael Ferraro in the chat room. Chess is great. I agree. It is, and we should have an Ironhammers chess league. So enough of that. Sounds like we both had pretty exciting weekends. So one thing. So for folks who actually tuned in last week, thank you for bearing with our internet and slight audio difficulties. We do appreciate that. We had a lot of good feedback for the show, so once again, I appreciate you guys coming back. New listeners, thank you. Make sure to check us out every Monday, and make sure to check out Ironhammers on Air, the other show with the other dudes. Both shows are equally as sexy and appealing. Both shows feature amazingly appealing men from all around the world. So definitely make sure to watch both shows. Now, once again, on this show, as opposed to discussing news, as opposed to discussing the community rig of the week and any industry goings-ons, we discuss gear, hardware, modding, lighting, cooling, stuff. Like I say once, say it again, the tech porn of the PC gaming community. So, Charlie, I say let's talk about the gear, the overall gear of the week. And before we talk about this week's topic, I want to we'll go back and kind of touch base on one more thing you were talking about last week, is the sound cards and the customizable and enthusiast nature of some sound cards. Sound cards are not just make stuff sound better. So what would you like to talk about to continue from last week? In terms of sound cards and their customization.
Well, last week I got all excited about the sound cards, and I went into some of the comparisons. I completely forgot. The big deal with the premium end is it has its own 4-core processor dedicated to sound recording, like we're doing kind of right now. I can't believe I completely left that out. So it has stereo input. It has optical in and out for those of you who might use your PlayStation with your PC stuff like I do.
Nice.
No lighting again, but I felt so terrible about forgetting about that. I couldn't sleep.
Now,
Again,
to cut you off real quick. I'm sorry, Charlie. Just so people listening, and so that I can look at it one more time, just so I could type it in Google. What exact sound card is this?
It's the Sound Blaster ZX, and the high end is the ZXR.
Okay, so the Sound Blaster ZXR. Let me take a look one more time because I want to put a image to this because I have after our show I was looking at sound cards, and so was Hardly Dan over on the other show. So it has a quad core processor.
It has two. The main board has a quad-core processor for processing sound and putting out what you hear, and it's a daughter board. It doesn't actually plug into the motherboard. It connects with another ribbon type cord, but it has a second quad-core processor dedicated to sound recording.
Wow. I may be a tech noob, but I have not heard the term daughter board much, and I love it.
It
So
just takes up a slot. It doesn't. It takes up a slot space, but it doesn't actually plug into the motherboard.
This is very nice. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I see it's got a Crossfire-esque ribbon connecting them. I may have to pick up one of these guys up, man. Like I said, I've been dabbling with different 5.1 receivers and whatnot, and I think I'm gonna have to go with one of these guys to maximize that sound. But
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty high end. If you're using onboard sound, you're taking power away from your CPU. So no matter what, I would recommend getting a sound card. If you only use your PC for gaming and you use a USB headset, that actually has a sound card built into it too. So I wouldn't get a sound card in that case. Or if you're one like last week, we had our question about the if you're using like a home theater setup. Home theater setups actually do the sound processing for you, and in that case, you wouldn't need a sound card either. But if you're doing 5.1 gaming, or especially for headphone gaming, you definitely need a high-end sound card, and that's where they say the Sound Blaster Z and ZX and whatever has really punched it up a notches with the headphones.
very nice, very nice. Now, very cool. Once again, the Sound Blaster ZX and ZXR look awesome. Speaking of those sound cards, right? The one drawback that we discussed is their lack of insane lighting, and we were discussing other sound cards that do have insane lighting. But instead of sound cards, we're going to discuss power supplies and, once again, overall case mods. So let's talk about you a little bit more, Charlie, all right? Because last week I was telling you that the community needs to know what one of the co-hosts of a show entitled Overclocked, what kind of machine he's running. Your power supply, let me get this straight. Your power supply can change colors.
I have the Corsair GS800. They just updated the line, so it's still relevant. It's just the new one has some extra blue plastic or something. But yeah, the Corsair GS line actually has customizable lighting. So in other words, if you have a red lights kind of setup, you'd probably want to go with your Sound Blaster Z for starters because it is blindingly red. It's like the sun. But the power supply here, it goes red. For my setup, where I have a Blue Orb 2, which is a kind of old school, like circular kind of CPU fan, but it still lights up blue, I have a blue setting for my power supply. And I haven't even seen it yet, but for someone who wants to be creative and different and new, it has a white light setting as well. So it can go red, white, or blue, depending on what you're doing, you know?
That's great, man.
I mean, most people just write off their power supply as a dark space in their case. I mean, there's a few really neat modular plugins that actually have like individual light up circles around the module plugins. It's a bit pricey, probably $200 plus, but for my needs, it's about $100, give or take, depending if you go the 600, 700, or 800 watt route. Yeah, you just find out what you need and go with the GSs. There's also there's other lines of Corsairs. We discussed it earlier. You know, you might get more bang for your buck performance-wise with, I don't know, there's a TX series, the AX series, which is their modular series. But if you're a gamer, you need a little extra light in there. And unless you're doing like Tri-SLI, I think 800 watts should probably do okay for you.
Very nice, very nice. I think I'm gonna have to check that out. So here's my problem, man. And then this is gonna go into so our topic this week in the gear of the week is case options, right? And different conversations regarding the cases and their different features. But so I don't have a modular power supply. Okay, I did build one for a friend the other day with the modular. It was my first time actually using one. Most people I know haven't spent the extra money to get a modular, and it was pretty cool. You know, I liked it. You know, obviously cable management is there if you care about what the inside of your case looks like, and if you are gonna invest money in cathode lights and different color fans. But most of the really, really impressive cases I'm seeing are not wide open on the side. Like we had the NZXT Phantom, was one of the best cases that came out in the last 5 years. That was a complete clear side. But now everything that comes out, you've got a little like I've got like once again the Cooler Master half 932. It's got like a 10-inch by 12-inch, little window there, but it's at the very top of the machine, so it'll maybe get some ambient light, but other than that, you can't really see what's going on in this enormous case. And I don't want to get into the clear case mods just yet. I know that's out there. I've seen people, attach a glass side with soldered on hinges and whatnot. I love I love case modding and whatnot, but that's a whole other ballpark. So my whole point is I'm on a quest to find a case that's of course efficient, very has a lot of options for installing lots of fans and hard drives and enormous video cards and whatnot. Versatility, but is clear enough to display what I've got going on. Because all I hear of the clear acrylic cases is that they collect dust and get scuffed up way too easily. So moving into that conversation, Charlie, you got your colorful sound, your lit sound cards, your lighted power supplies. How do you show this stuff off? Like what cases will show this off properly, and how important is that to be able to place it somewhere in your room and people walk in and be able to see the color of your sound card? That's once again, let's get into that. I mean, how do you weigh that with how loud this case is going to be, with with how big and efficient this case is going to be, as opposed to how big the glass pane will be on that chassis.
Well, like I told you on the last show, my first case was actually solid brushed aluminum, just the classiest, awesomest case that you can imagine. It was just so plain but awesome. I punched and kicked and dropped the hell out of it, and it's still there. It's got my old pieces in it. I told you my current case, it's the Raven 3 from Silverstone. You can go see that on the Silverstone site. It actually has my power supply sideways, so the light that comes out the back actually comes out towards me. So that's one interesting little thing for those of you with the colorful power as well. Not that large, but again, I've got a big blue circle right in the middle of my setup, and it shows it off pretty well. So are you looking for like other models?
Yeah, pretty much. I want to build a new machine this year, and
Okay.
Whereas I was looking for something portable last year, to take to LAN events, my setup is becoming the LAN party setup. So my case is not going anywhere. It's going to stay here. I kind of like Cooler Master has a test bench case that's out now. It's the half XB, I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a little box, It looks really cool. It's a lot of room, and you can pull the motherboard tray out at any given time, without dismantling the whole thing. It's a test bench. I like something like that. But on the other hand, like I said, I kind of want just these clear acrylic cases. I take care of my stuff. I'll dust it out. I'm not gonna get it scuffed up. Nothing's gonna touch the case. And I want it to be like when the lights are off, I want this room to be blue or white or red. I want the whole room to be lit. I don't even want the lamp that's behind me on this video in this room anymore. I want it all lit just by the LED from the machine. But what do you think? What do you think about that? What do you think about those, man? Is that going too far? Just getting a completely transparent, case? Is that impractical at that point?
I don't know if you saw it or not, but back in the day at CompUSA, we did have a six-sided acrylic case. It was cracked on every single corner, but it was clear, and somebody wound up taking it home. Let's put it that way. It was something we found upstairs when we were cleaning, and I don't know. Like I said, it was neat, and you could see everything inside from every direction, but it cracked all over. And other than that, it looked pretty neat. There's a case called the Antec Landboy. If you're not familiar with that one, it's almost completely mesh on every side, extremely customizable, although it is almost all plastic as well. If you have any lights in there, it will show up from every direction.
I'm looking right now. This is beautiful. It looks like a server rack, but it's very,
A
very nice. Yeah, I see
lot of
it.
mesh.
I like it. I like it very much.
So I've looked at that. Again, it's a lot of plastic, so if you're rough with it or plan on moving around a lot, that might not be the best idea. But I was debating between that one, my Raven 3. There's also the Corsair 600T. I know that's another, it was popular back at the store. I liked that one well. That was my second place for my current case setup.
Now, do you like the white, or would you do the black case?
I like the white. Yeah, I like the white. The window on the side you can take out and replace with a mesh for room for four 120 fans if you want to do that.
Nice,
But
nice,
yeah,
nice, nice.
it's nice. It's got the front and the top come off with dust covers that are easy to clean. Highly recommended.
Let me see. Josh McNell in the chat says, "My case, the Corsair 800D, is a beast and has some of the best cable management around." Let's go into Google here and look at the 800D. I think I have
You know
seen
the
that.
800D.
Oh yeah, that thing is that thing is a beast. That same thing that has a very nice clear window. That has a whole separate compartment at the bottom for the power supply and for any. Uh, you could just shove the cables in that separate compartment, and it won't clutter up the motherboard and GPU area. And if you're into liquid cooling, you could put a damn lot of liquid cooling tubing in there. That one's a really nice case. That thing's heavy as hell, though. If you go to a LAN party, you will rue the day that you agreed to take that thing out of the house.
Not not a LAN party machine. Another one that was kind of popular that I kind of looked at a little bit was the Storm Master, or the Cool Master Storm. It's like the
I
Storm
think
Trooper
that's
or
that's the
something like
one with the
that.
handle, right?
It has a handle. I mean, it's perfect. It's not as transparent as some of the other cases we've brought up, but it does have that handle, and it is still huge as well if you're looking for cable management and such.
Yes. Okay, I'm looking at, yeah, the Cooler Master CM Storm. That was a beautiful case. Yeah, it has an enormous handle and the power button. I love the power button on that one. I don't know if you remember it. It was like this weird little like red glowing hexagon, and it was so it's like
Oh yeah.
a big. It's like a stupidly big button. That's what I like about the half 932. It's just like a big clicky loud button. It's things like that that matter, Charlie. And okay, so check it out. Check it out. I want to ask you this. Last week you asked me, have I ever made a purchase decision whereas cosmetic value outweighed performance value? And I'd like to ask you today. So for four cases, okay? Because on tomshardware.com there was an article they just put out, how to make a 0 decibel gaming machine. Okay, that's pretty impressive. Passive cooling technology is not
No.
practical nowadays in terms of how big these heat sinks need to be and how to get that actual airflow. So to me, I don't need a 0 decibel machine. Right now, the 932 is actually a pretty loud machine, and you guys can't hear it. Well, maybe you can, and no one's telling me, but it's a pretty loud machine. And that's with a 200 and 240 millimeter fans, which are nice and quiet. But I've mentioned before, I've considered putting, instead of the 240, I've considered putting four 120s. And instead of the 200, I've considered putting two 120s, just because I want lots and lots and lots of light. But that machine would be loud. So my question to Charlie is: once it gets to the point of, let me customize this, let me add a lot more light, let me add a lot more flavor to this, is that something to you? Is that loud airplane like drone like humming? Is that enough of a drawback to you personally that you would say, you know what, I'm gonna cut back on adding this extra lighting because it will make it too loud? Or is that something that you really don't give a damn about?
I haven't really had that question in my head yet. My computer can get pretty loud. It's the GPU fan on my 6970. When I was playing Arkham City, that thing was loud like a race car, and it would heat the room. It got so hot. It was
Jesus.
uncomfortable and sweaty. Um, I would still lean towards the big fans, and maybe you've seen those tube cathode bulbs.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
go with that if you really wanted to light your case up rather than going for lots of little fans. That's me personally.
Yeah, they're like $10. You plug, it has a Molex connector. Just plug it right in. I have been considering that very much. They've got the UV, the ultraviolet light cathode tubes, but I don't know, Charlie. I don't know if I want a black light in this room, and I will leave it at that. But yeah, yeah, the cathode lights are actually pretty damn cool. Um, but so lighting. So what's more important to you, Charlie? Lighting, or just the overall case look? If the machine's out there in the open, and people come over and take a look at your shiny new computer, because you could have a butt ugly case, but when you turn off the lights, it looks like something out of Tron Legacy. Um, and most of the time, a gamer's machine will be in a darkly lit room with just their glowing aura around it. So once again, how important is lighting to you in the overall design? Because if you're getting if if a if lighting on a power supply is something that adds to the purchase value, or lighting, because to me it adds always. If I'm looking for a super powered CPU fan or anything, lighting always contributes to the value of that to me. And then I think, well, it's not even going to show it off that much in my case. So, uh, you know, so to wrap that up for the week, Charlie, for the gear of the week here, how much do you really care about lighting overall in the final product?
It figures in. Let's put it that way. I told you I have a Blue Orb 2 CPU fan, a big blue circle. Remember, I put that into a solid aluminum case without windows. I
that's
mean,
that's yeah. That, I mean, God, we are. What the hell is wrong with us, man? Like
it's
people will either agree with what with you and say I've done dumb crap like that before, or they'll say, you know what, I don't understand it. But it's the same. It's the same school of thought as watching unboxing videos. These are things that are just so cool. Even if we're not gonna see the light, let's just put it in there anyway. So one day when I open it while the computer's on for some reason, I'm gonna see the blue orb. But that's that's
the
the first time I've
lighting.
heard of anything like that.
The lighting sold me on the mouse. Otherwise, I would have a black Sensei instead of a Death Adder. I will say that. My keyboard had to be backlit, but I was searching for the something ergonomic and backlit, and the only thing I've seen was the Microsoft 8000, which was discontinued like 2 or 3 years ago, with a wireless mouse. Goes for like $200 or $300 on eBay.
Hmm.
As far as the case goes, the power supply is still very well rated, but I definitely took a hit versus going to the TX series versus the GS series. The TX was a better performing power supply versus the GS, which has lights. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I upgraded my graphics or my sound card and no lights. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of sound recording. I'll be quite frank about that. I wanted the optical in, and I wanted the extra amps on the headset. But it hurt when I had to take those lights out of my case and leave it dark.
Well, yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, no, like as Bobby Gooding, creator of Ironhammers.org, he's got the Diablo headset. I don't know if you've seen this, but when sound comes through, the earpieces light up red.
I almost bought the Diablo headset. That's the Steel Series, right?
Right, right, right.
We had them at the store for $30 for about 2 days, and for $30, I'm like, why not?
Right.
And I just forgot to pick them up.
That's a great deal. That's actually a really excellent deal. But once again, I mean, that's a feature that he's not gonna see the red lights while he's wearing them. So why do you need it? I mean, you would say, wow, that's really cool. Like, remember the LA Light shoes or the Nike lights? I mean, you're not gonna see the light behind your shoe while you're walking. So there's definitely that show off factor. And very few people will come over and see my computer for the first time, but it is always cool to have it hooked up and whatnot. But I think so. I think that's enough for lighting, man. We'll leave an open invitation for anyone to share their lighting stories or any compromises they've made, lighting over performance or lighting over quiet or anything like that. But I think, like I said, just the trend that I'm seeing, go on Tom's Hardware, Newegg, anything like that. Cases are starting to get more and more covered up. I'm starting to see a lot less, hey, look at the guts of my machine. And I think it's the whole Fast and Furious effect of back in the early 2000s. Everyone was adding lights to their car and everyone was adding mods and whatnot, and same thing with computers. Everyone was taking their little, micro ITX or mini ITX machines to, anime conventions and whatnot, and just kind of displaying, all the lights and crazy stuff like that. And now people are getting to the point of, I want to make my machine 1 degree cooler and 1 decibel quieter. And I think it's when you take that into effect, it completely strips away the cosmetic, the drive to okay, let me make this thing a different color, or let me make this thing, a cooler look. And instead, I want to overclock my processor, so I want to make this thing a little cooler. Forget about the lights, in this case, because
I will take light over sound every day. Light over sound. I don't care about the sound that much.
There you go.
I have headphones.
If you have a good gaming headset, who cares how loud your machine is, right? Because you're not going to hear it. They're not going to hear it, man.
Or if you have speakers too, you just turn up the sound.
Yeah, just turn it up, man. If you hear the sound, that means you're not playing an exciting enough game to turn, that you're going to be listening to. So, okay, so Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook. Once again, you want to comment on any of these, I will check them. Let's take a look here. I think to finish that off, I see we've got some gaming peripherals. You know what, Charlie? Next week, for Ironhammers Overclocked Episode 3, let's do gaming peripherals. How about that? Mice, keyboards, all that stuff. We'll talk about that then, because I want that's a whole another topic there. But I want to talk about one more thing in terms of cases.
Yes.
You showed me this about a month ago. If you have a link, put it in the chat here, and I'll put it on Twitter. I don't know what to say other than when I saw this was like an old person hearing obnoxious dubstep for the first time. I was annoyed, confused, somewhat captivated, but overall just confused. Charlie, why don't you tell... Now remember, not everyone's going to watch the video. Some people are going to listen to the audio, but so do your best to describe... and I'm going to put the link in Twitter. But you're watching it again?
That was an ad. I forgot the sound isn't muted.
Oh, it blasted in your ears.
That was funny.
All right. So describe this monstrosity that some company has actually made.
Well, I've already discussed my appreciation for Leanne Lee cases. A lot of good aluminum. Again, maybe not a lot of windows or a lot of cases you can actually purchase additional windows for like $60 or $70 if you think it's worth it. But they have released a full aluminum train, a working smokestack functional train. It goes back and forth on a track. You can purchase more track if you want. Oh my God, I'm trying to find a good link. I had the Newegg link, which actually lists it as discontinued. I
Oh
don't think
no.
that's true. I think they just are too scared to carry it. I think the going price is $350 American.
And it for
But
for the function for the whole like functioning train.
for the train, I don't know how much track that includes.
I'm trying to find it on my page as well, man. This thing, folks. I mean, it's not enough that it's shaped like a choo-choo train or that smoke comes out, but that it has track for the train to maneuver on. I who Charlie, let me ask you, is there someone who made that, who manufactured that and said, "Wow, this actually serves a practical purpose." And I've got the
uh,
link here. I'm going to put it on Twitter here for folks.
that's from the Leanne Lee site. If you go on YouTube, put in Leanne Lee train, and you will see convention demonstrations of this thing in action. It is surreal. Um, as for actual realistic use, I might put it in the lobby of like a tech company for, you have visiting representatives. They get to see your train going back and forth. Maybe powering a screen with other demonstrations on it. But it's a mini ITX case, so you really can't put a whole lot in there. Um, you do have your wires coming out, so it's going back and forth while carrying your wires with you, unless you got everything wireless but the power. Um, yeah, I mean, you're not going to game with this, basically.
I mean, this this is crazy. And what's funny is this Newegg site has more pictures and more angles than normal cases. Like there are so many pictures taken of this thing. I just can't believe it, man. It shows what kind of motor
You're
and transmission are in here, what type of atomizer. My God, man.
There are windows, but there's only, I think, one expandable slot and room for one 120 millimeter fan. So you're not going to get a whole lot of a light show there unless you stick your cathode tubes in there.
That's
It's purely just it's just there.
now what vehicle would you like to see? No, no. What inanimate? Well, okay, this is not an. What inanimate object? Obviously, a train does not count. Would you like to see them make a case designed after, and then we'll close off. We'll close it off after that.
Well, I mean, the crazy thing about this train is that it's actually in production. If you talk about some of the custom cases I've seen, I mean, I've seen R2D2, I've seen stuff shoved into an old NES, I've
Oh,
seen old school radios which look absolutely authentic. Me personally, I don't know. That's a good question.
I see you looking
I've
around your
seen
room for
things.
stuff, for stuff that you'd like to see. Man,
What about you?
what about a Mighty Max castle? Do you remember those toys?
Oh, that's old school.
Those, if you remember what Mighty Max was, those little tiny figurines, and they would have the huge like castles that you can fold up and throw in your backpack, and then you open it up and it's like an evil layer. If you could make a Mighty Max volcano base into a PC, I'd be down for that.
Or something
Uh,
Ninja Turtles if you're going to go old school, like a Technodrome or a module.
a Technodrome PC. There you go. There you go. That's amazing. Well, with that, case closed. Hold on. Do I have any fun sound effects for case closed? Hold on, folks. Be patient with me, please. All right. This is a live, dynamic show, and we need we need sound effects. Case closed. There's the gong to represent
Well
the
done.
passing of that topic. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Last thing I'll discuss real quick. This is just new gear of the week, and then we'll close the show out for the week. But did you see the link I put in here, Charlie, for
I
the
did.
monitor that I just saw? 29-inch monitor, right? Nothing crazy about that, except hold on, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? The ratio on this 29-inch is, why is it not showing it on here? It's like
I was
200.
looking for it. I didn't see it.
I think it's like 310 by. So pretty much this looks like two
Here it is.
monitors in one. It's super
It's a
wide.
20. It's 21 by 9 aspect ratio versus
Is that what it is?
16 by 9 or
Okay, there
16
we
by
go.
10. This one's 21 by 9.
There you go. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's 21 by 9. I would love, and it's gonna be 700. It's gonna be $800. That's not bad, given that we have some IPS monitors that we saw at the old computer store for $1,000. But this is a beautiful ratio. I would love to play. Now, once again, imagine playing BioShock Infinite with I think that game lets you change field of view, or does it not? In terms of
It
movement.
does. In fact, I get kind of a headache from that game and Half-Life 2, which is one of my games I haven't finished yet. But you can adjust the field of view. Um, yeah, that
To
would.
me, to me, I love multiple monitors. Right? I love it. Like I would love to have 6 monitors in portrait mode. But this I would be perfectly satisfied with one of these at that ratio. I mean, take a look, folks. It's the it's a NEC. Just type in NEC 29-inch monitor, and you'll pull it up. I would love to play F1 2012, or I mean Crisis 3, anything on something with that ratio. I think it's beautiful. It's much more practical than Ifinity display, which I love Ifinity displays, but this looks nice, man. I hope we see more stuff like this uh, trickle in. $800 is not bad at all. And NEC are not a crappy company. I mean, they know their monitors without a doubt.
It's a high-end company, and $800 is like it would be like two very nice monitors side by side.
Right, right. And look at this, man. 6 inputs: DisplayPort, HDMI, DVI, single link, and dual link, and VGA. If you're still using VGA on this thing, though, I mean, my God, what are you doing?
You're banned from the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. You can't even watch the show if you're still using VGA on such a beautiful monitor. And finally, so that I think that's impressive gear of the week. So once again, next week, folks, gaming peripherals. You talked about your fancy new mouse, Charlie. I've been looking at some things. We'll save it for next week, but I've been looking at a few things. I may actually make a purchase that we could talk about on next week's show. So once again, email podcast at ironhammers.org. Go on Twitter at ironhammers. Go on the YouTube link here. Go on Facebook, wherever. Just look for us. Leave a comment. We will see it. And
Contests?
contest. So okay, I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it back in a little bit. Okay, I went insane on the contest last week. I want people to know we appreciate them and love them, but fewer and more valuable prizes is what our community needs, Charlie. So this is what I'm going to propose. Okay, The screenshot contest was my favorite one. This is what we're gonna do. Last week the contest was post your most erotic in-game screenshot in our Steam group. We still have the Steam group. We still have a discussion going on for episode 3. So go on Steam, type in Ironhammers, and you'll see a discussion there for the screenshot challenge for Ironhammers Overclocked episode 3. And this is what we're gonna do. I want you to post a in-game screenshot from any game in there of your biggest explosion. Whatever you think biggest explosion means, put it in there, okay? All right? You can use that term loosely, figuratively, literally, whatever. Biggest explosion, post your best screenshot, and by the time the show rolls around, we pick a winner, and the winner will have that screenshot as the ironhammers.org cover photo for the official Facebook page. And that Facebook page gets a lot of traffic. We'll put your name on there as well. I think that'd be really cool. We have a huge international following, and you get to feature your insane big explosion picture. And of course, we will archive it with past winners and whatnot. So yeah, biggest explosion. If you just happen to be to set off some enormous catastrophe in a game, just hit F12, screenshot it, post it on the page, and you may win. And you'll get to hear your name spoken by myself and Charlie Wilson. I mean, what better prize can you have? So, what do you think, Charlie? Is that a sufficient? Do you have any big explosion screenshots to share with the community?
I personally do not. Some games come to mind. Some of the biggest explosions I've seen on YouTube were Minecraft related. People trying to break their i7s, and they were successful. What about you?
I'm trying to think too, man. I think like sandbox games, definitely. I think Just Cause 2 had some insane catastrophe that I set off. And Tropical 4, I think my nuclear power plant blew up. I forget if that's exactly what happened, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go look through my through my screenshots and see. But yeah, biggest explosion, guys, post it in there. And then finally, guys, before we close off the show and get to some community shout-outs, before we get to some community recognition, Charlie, is there anything I'm forgetting? Is there anything you want to mention before closing the book on episode 2, sir?
As far as the notes go, all I have is the question that came to my mind as I was playing StarCraft. If we were to have a national pastime, it'd be a video game. The way South Korea has their national official pastime as StarCraft, what would it be? What would America's national video game pastime be?
Man, so I would like to hear the community's answers on this. Definitely, that's a great question. And I will say, if we don't answer it on Ironhammers Overclocked 3, we may have to answer it on Ironhammers On Air episode 6, because man, this is a very loaded question. I think it's a great question, but I'll answer it right now, man. So if StarCraft is the South Korean national pastime, I think here we kind of have Street Fighter, but man, if it was like America has a game that represents it in the esports world, man, I think it has to be a war game. Not because I like that, but because I think that represents the way American gamers have been representing themselves. Very, very, very competitive. So I mean, like the fact that we have such a huge role in Call of Duty tournaments, kind of makes sense. I don't like the hyper macho, super bro personalities that play these games. But unfortunately, when I think of America as an American, when I think of America and what we compete in, it's loud, heavy, violent, and in just crazy. I don't think of StarCraft. When I think of StarCraft, I think of calculating, tactics, strategies. So I think, yeah, I think it would have to be a first person shooter. You know, that's not necessarily what I'd like, but that's one I have to think about. But what about you, man? If you think, what would your esports national pastime be for the United States of America?
Halo.
Halo,
I
just
immediately
just
think Halo.
yeah, Halo
I mean,
4.
um, I don't know. But I immediately think of Halo. It was too popular for too long. It was extremely well known for its multiplayer online play. Um, and it is a solid game too. It's not my favorite, and I'm not big into FPS, but I'd still say Halo or something first
Nice.
person shooter. I mean, the first I heard of it with multiple players playing for money and all that was either Quake or Doom. So you think Fatality, you think Quake, Doom, those kind of games.
I think, yeah, was it Quake or Unreal that
Um,
Fatality? I think it was Quake. I think it was Quake Online.
I'm
Uh,
not sure. Unreal Tournament was my first big introduction into multiplayer online gameplay, and it was great. I enjoyed the going nuts and blasting and dying and coming back and blasting and dying versus Counter Strike, which was a little more. Oh, you died. You didn't know what you were doing. Now you get to watch. Suck it.
right. Um, is man, I'm trying to think. I think Quake. I, I don't know, man. I think loud, fast, and violent, big explosions, big guns. I think Quake started that. I think this is what we need, Charlie. We need a 2013 version of Quake, and I think Call of Duty is getting us to that point. Black Ops 2 is getting us to that point. If they could pull off, if Sledgehammer Games, right, the guys that left Infinity Ward after Modern Warfare 2, if they were to put together something for the next generation, that's just the next step, right? Because all these games have been very iterative improvements on one another, and I bought every Call of Duty game that's ever come out. So I'm speaking from experience that, even though I'm going to keep buying these annual games, they're just small improvements. But if Sledgehammer or someone were to come out and say, okay, this is the new benchmark for fast, intense, action-based first-person shooters, and we're gonna balance it on a professional level. I think that's great. I think that's what America could dominate the world in, and I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great as long as it doesn't represent our country like a bunch of loud, obnoxious douchebags, then I'm fine with it.
Well, then it wouldn't be accurate though.
Yeah, exactly. It would not be accurate at all. But perfect, man. Well, so community, reach out to us on that. We'll discuss it. On both shows. I think that's a very good question, Charlie. And
I'm curious as to what the people in the UK would say about their national pastime. I'm curious. I don't know if the game playing trends are what they are in America or if they're more like South Korea. I don't know.
you know what? I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna ask them on episode 6 of On Air, and then I'm gonna bring it full circle back to episode 3 here. That's a very good question. I do want to know. And we do have listeners. I was looking at the analytics the other day, courtesy of Bobby Gooding. We've got people all over the world, man. I saw like a New Zealand. I think we had like a listener in the Netherlands somewhere. So wherever you are in the world, shoot us an email, podcast@ironhammers.org. Put in there overclocked, so that we know what show it's for, and just let us know, man, what country you're from and what video game you think your country should represent in the esports league. So speaking of the community, man, I have to mention, Charlie. We've got one of the man, one of the greatest influences to this generation right now of live gaming enthusiast podcasting. JSS Lifelike, John Conger the second of thegamesman.com, the founder of the website. He just recently retired from the podcasting scene. Him and his wife Lisa have given birth to their first child. Hold on, I have an applause button that I'm gonna push, and I've pushed it. So there goes the applause. Okay, congratulations, Lifelike, man. That's a huge, huge deal, and I hope that that little Jacob grows up to be as great of a gamer as you. Charlie, I know
It's
you don't
never
know the
too
guy.
early to start.
Uh, go ahead, go
Start
ahead.
podcasting now. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. If you would like to bring the little one on the show, he's welcome anytime, anytime. And maybe when he grows up, when he's old enough to play, maybe Half-Life Episode 3 will finally have come out, and he could be the first to review it. What do you think about that, Charlie? Is that a
I
reasonable
I
prediction?
haven't finished two, so hopefully I have at least another 10 years.
There you go. There you go. I guess, man. Other than that, man, a shout out to everyone in the chat room. Shout out to everyone who checked us out. A new show I'd like to talk about. Everyday gamers. We got our guy Holy Headshot. Always shouts us out in the tweets and whatnot. Everyday gamers. I'm gonna start listening to these guys myself, and all the guys at the Gamesman, all the guys at the video, VG Hub, and gaming for the elderly and all that stuff. Charlie, any community shout outs, any friends, any lucky individuals who you can grace with your fine words today, sir?
No. I
Well,
don't really have any friends, but a big shout out to the community that got Game of Thrones to me. I don't have cable, but was still able to watch just minutes after it finished airing. So, thank you to all the streamers out there bringing us copyrighted material that we otherwise would not see.
there you go. There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. And Game of Thrones. Watch episode 2 so you can know what we're talking about next week. This will be your home for all PC enthusiast and Game of Thrones discussion from here
There you
on
go.
out. I'm serious too. I'm going to talk about it, man. So, all right, Charlie. Well, I guess we will see each other a week from today, and I think that
Push the button.
yeah, I'm pushing that button. I got that button. I got that button. I got a fart sound. I got a burp sound. I got a siren. I got all types of stuff. So I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful week. We will see you for Ironhammers on Air episode 6 this week. Ironhammers.org, twitter.com/Ironhammers. Everywhere. Just type Ironhammers on Google. And if you go to Google Images and type Ironhammers, you will see this face. You will see Charlie's face. And once again, I mean, as handsomest guys in podcasting. That is all. We will see you guys later. Good.